Okay, thank you very much for inviting us for this very interesting debate. One thing I want to say is actually I am a new hijab wearer, and I've always believed in the Quran. It was very clear about how to wear it, although it's actually, it doesn't, as you said, probably not to cover, but to cover, it's mean actually to cover yourself. Not only that, I found here in this country, the women are actually being degraded in so many ways, especially the way the media display the woman. In every advert, in everything, they have to put the woman. And this is actually completely different from religion. Religion usually is actually, although it's covered, but it protects the woman in other ways. And they have their own right, and they have their, it's nothing to do with politics at all. I don't agree with that.
Thank you. Sir? Let me take 2 or 3 together, and then we'll get the chance to Alan, because she made a comment, yes.
Well, as a point of history and art, we don't have niqab in Islam at all, but we have niqab in the society, and men and women wore it in the Arab world as well as the other world, like the Tawarif, wearing niqab in the desert. When you are in the desert of Arabia, the sand is 80 miles an hour. You cannot go without niqab in the desert. You have to wear niqab. Therefore, this culture is actually a desert culture or Bedouin culture, and happened to be injected with money of the what's so-called Saudi Arabia, and this culture became kind of known. We can only take it as art. We may call it a black art or Islamic art or whatever. I go with Yvonne that because we believe in democracy and freedom, we have to keep silent about it. I myself don't mind that, but I would not actually communicate with niqab. But going back to history, one of the men, he was wounded in the war before Islam, and he became arch enemy of Islam. And his name, Dhun Niqab, because he covered his face, was so ugly. He covered his face with niqab, and he was warring with the Muslims, and he was killed in Uhud. This is one of the examples that niqab, not only for women, also for men in the past. In the Roman time, I'm Roman archaeologist. In the Roman time, we have in the Column of Rome, which is Herodian column called. If you see the top one, there is some people without face. These people are with face, but wearing niqab because they were injured. The injury is very bad. They can fight, but they cannot reveal.
Thank you, sir. Because he'd already emailed me to say that he wanted to say it, so I just gave him. But please make it short, sir. Yeah. Well, one of you first, and then you.
Okay. I have one comment and one question. First of all, we have more than 6,000 verses in the Quran, but we have only 2 verses concerning hijab. One in Surah An-Nur and other in Surah Al-Ahzab. We should be clear that the verses don't specify on niqab at all. The problem with jurists that the interpretation of these verses, and there are socio-political issues. The problem when the verses they interpreted, sometimes they don't look on the occasion, on the context, on the conditions, space, and time, which has developed. You can imagine that some Jews, they say that the beautiful woman should cover, and the woman who is not beautiful doesn't matter. So this exists for fuqaha.
Thank you.
And my question,
please. I'm sorry,
yes,
but
so we have Quran which interpreted, and we have ahadith which are contradict each other. And we see the wife of the Prophet, all the people they know, this is Khadija, this is Aisha, this is Hafsa. Even the wife, the daughter, this is Fatima, they know her.
Sir, you've made your comments now. Please take a seat.
My question to
quickly then, because I'm not going to let you do it longer.
Mr. Milani said that my speech is from jurisprudence, and he take this Minister of Education and put the idea of process of education. Could I ask him which fuqaha jurists say about this matter, process of education?
Okay, thank you. We'll answer yours next, January, yes.
Sorry, first I don't understand very good English. Yes, I don't confirm everybody. If you talking about Niqab, means you want to talk about Quran, not about just Islamic country. It's political for Nicolas Sarkozy. Talk about Quran. Which doctor said about Quran? In Quran we don't have anything about Niqab, but we have 100% about hijab.
Yes.
And doctor confirm everything.
Thank you very much. Now, okay, now I've seen you all. I'm going to take, in a few minutes, let the panel just briefly answer that, because the question was to you, sir, so I'm going to give you the opportunity, and I think to all three of you, just briefly if you want. So.
Yes. What I wanted to say that the jurists discussed this issue in details in most of the books which are in Arabic. So the only thing that I mentioned, the issue of Syria or whatever education, I'm talking about the practical side of it, that the theory is there, the ruling is there, but in practice, what do we do when we face these problems?
Dr. Ghada?
Yeah. I just to the questioner there about the degradation of women in the West, I totally agree with you. I should have mentioned this when I was talking about this wave of headscarves and so on as a reaction to various things. One of the very important things I should have mentioned, I completely agree with you, is the way that women in certain Western societies are abused and frankly degraded. And I can quite understand that people are disgusted by this, and it creates a reaction to say, no, I prefer to be very modest than to appear like this. So I think that's right. Now, in terms of the question of the small number of verses and so on in the Quran, the social context, yes, of course, that, you're quite right, because that actually applies to many, many things about Islamic legislation, because in fact there is a historical context. And one of the things that God created in us is the ability to ijtihad, to interpret, reinterpret, depending on the time and the place. And one of my main objections, I mean, if I were to, leaving aside the freedom argument, which I completely, underline, that people are free as long as they don't harm anybody else, to dress in the way they're most comfortable. But having said that, I have to say, it's contrary to the spirit of Islam. It's not only not Islamic, it's actually contrary to the spirit. Why? Because it makes people stand out. And as the learned Sheikh told us, the essence of Islam is that are there these prohibitions, these injunctions about modesty, is that as women and as men, we shouldn't stand out, we shouldn't attract attention, either because we're heavily made up or because we're wearing a black tent over our heads. This is not Islamic. And so I couldn't agree more with
Thank you. Sister Yvonne, really?
No, it's okay.
Okay. All right. We've got lots of hands.
What
You start first.
is your opinion?
I'll tell you mine at the end. Then you can go home then after. Sir, yeah. No.
First of all, I would like to thank Lord Ahmed and Dr. Saad for organizing this honestly great event tonight. It is very, very important. Secondly, I would like to thank all the speakers. Everyone covered from different areas. About Niqab, some people say, oh, this came in only 2 ayahs, and we can't talk about that. So on. So it is. I would like to hijab, not Niqab. Exactly, 100%. The Quran talk about a lot of different things. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about only one issue, it is not going to happen. And like we understand, after the letter Rasulullah explained about separate things. We don't like to go deeply, it is right, it is wrong, it is must be or not. Because if we study all the madhab fiqh, you will find some scholars say yes, some say no. And it is very wide range of opinion, and it is beauty of Islam, honestly, to wear it or not. I will finish, please. Okay, but the problem is it's a politics altogether, nothing to do with anything else. The ladies wear niqab used to live in Britain, in France, long time ago, coming from Gulf, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, wearing same clothes, but starting now talking about. We don't like to talk about, you are right, I am wrong, you are wrong, I am right, but we would like to talk about, no, leave ladies alone, let them do whatever we would like to do.
Thank you. Aisha, and then I'm going to go like this side and then this side. Okay. Quickly though.
Assalamu alaikum. Just a couple of points very briefly. Back in 1989, my sister and I were banned from our school in Cheshire for wanting to wear the Islamic headscarf. So I've been hearing these debates for the last 20 years. It's the same old debates. And when the sister's saying that basically you shouldn't stand out, this is what the media reported at the time. They said, well, these two girls who want to wear the Islamic headscarf are standing out. And why are they making a scene about this? There is more modest if they remove the Islamic headscarf. I really don't buy that argument. If people choose to wear the niqab, if they choose to wear the headscarf, if they choose to wear the jilbab, as Muslims living in this country, and even non-Muslims, we should support the democratic right for all people to dress the way they want to. And in terms of just the khimar, the word khimar is mentioned in the Quran, and a lot of scholars have the Islamic understanding that the khimar actually comes over the face. So when the word mentioned juyubi hinna is to do with the covering of the body, but khimar was understood. And if we look at the example of the Prophet's wives, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they all covered their faces. Yes, they were recognized, but they covered their faces. So this was
Change the Quran, please.
Excuse me. This was not. Okay, we were talking about tradition. We were talking about tradition.
Don't change in ayah Quran, please.
We were talking about tradition, and the tradition came from. Tradition and religion are often one of the same.
Thank you very much. Now, you sir, and then I'll take these two ladies as well. Yes.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean,
No, I'll come back. I haven't forgotten you, but they were before you. Okay, so let me share it. Okay.
The discussion is very interesting, but primarily I think we are diverting from the real issue. Islam is under attack. The Islamic world is under oppression, and nobody knows exactly what the game which they are playing by. They are using this kind of diversion to make people talk about it. It's a human right choice. If the person wants to wear a hijab, it's up to them. It's not really the issue. Why are we so shy for beauty? I worship beauty. See something beautiful? Fine, what's wrong with it? But the real issue right now, we have corrupt rulers throughout the Islamic world, throughout the Arab world, and people trying to suppress that kind of objection by wearing something. But the real issue right now, we have to deviate from that discussion because we will see exactly what they want. They are coupling terrorism with Islam and hijab. And this is exactly the point which
Maybe next debate should be on corrupt rulers. My sister there.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I would like to go back to school. On hijab. When we come to the word hijab, we always adopt this word on women only. But in fact, in the Quran, the hijab has been mentioned in several cases. The hijab is mean the barrier. The hijab it's actually at the end of the Quran, because I read the Quran, I go to the Quran in and out. Anyway, the hijab mentioned as well as obligatory on men as women. What
is
yeah, you can interpret it whatever you want, but when it comes to women issue, it comes to only hijab. No, just one second. When we go back to the issue of freedom of wearing niqab, no, you are free to wear niqab, but in the meantime, you're invading my freedom as well, because I have no communication with you. I can't understand the body language contact.
Thank you. I'll take this gentleman, then I'll come to you.
Thank you, Madam. Yes, absolutely. I agree with the brother saying that this is diversion, really. However, the crux of the issue is, and what surprises me and annoys me, is Obama, Blair, Bush, any of these lunatics